Welcome to the video. If you're new here, this is just Rana and I am Lex, and today we're discussing the Canadian Grand Prix. It was something. Either way, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the button if you please, and turn on all notifications so you know when I upload. And yeah, roll the intro. I am having a big technological issue. My computer that I work and edit on has the keyboard and the touchpad have both stopped working. So, can't get to my notes, and I can't get to majority of the shit I need to film this. But I don't know what to do, frankly. Like, should I just take it to, like, one of those, like, repair places? Because, like, I can't even get in because the keyboard's not working and the touchpad isn't working. So, either way, we can do track info and then I'll troubleshoot later. But let's open this Red Bull. Like, this is just my luck. Like, this would only happen to me, wouldn't it? I fear. Like, what do you mean 2 minutes before I'm about to start filming, the entire computer decides, hey, I'm done. Hey, actually, I give up. I'm gonna cry. I spent so long doing my makeup, I can't cry. And my boyfriend leaves for Canada today, and I'm gonna miss him, and it's just not a great day. It's not a great day so far. Okay. Track info. The first Grand Prix here was held in 1978. The circuit is 4.361 kilometers long. There are 70 laps in the Grand Prix. The lap record is held by Valtteri Bottas in 2019 with a 113.078. At the circuit, there's an iconic wall called the Wall of Champions because in 1999, Damon Hill, one-time world champion, Jacques Villeneuve, one-time world champion, and Michael Schumacher, seven-time world champion, went into the wall during a Grand Prix. This circuit is called Gilles Villeneuve because the first Canadian F1 driver was Gilles Villeneuve. Villeneuve went on to win 6 races in his 5-year-long career. He drove for McLaren and Ferrari. In his 1979 season, he placed second in the championship. But in 1982, while driving at Spa, Villeneuve got into a crash with Johan Mass, and that led to his death, unfortunately. Villeneuve's son, Jacques, joined F1 in 1996 and won the championship in 1997. In the current F1 grid, there's one Canadian F1 driver, Lance Stroll. His father, Lawrence Stroll, is the chairman of the Aston Martin team, and his daughter, Chloe Stroll, married Scotty James, the Olympic snowboarder, and is Daniel Ricciardo's best friend. And Daniel Ricciardo, if you don't know, is a longtime F1 driver, one of my favorites of all time. Either way, I believe this is his first Grand Prix of the entire season he's attended. So, but yeah, I'm not even, like, I can't tell you anything else because I don't have notes. Because they're on the computer that gave up. I can tell you by memory, so we're going to try and do that. And if I miss anything, I'm sorry. In free practice 1, there were lots of issues. There wasn't much grip at the beginning of the race at the beginning of the practice, and it eventually led to Charles Leclerc getting into a crash, which made he just kind of like spun and into the wall. So, not great. And then in free practice 2, it was relatively uneventful. There was one spin in a Sauber, I forget who, and yeah. The problem, or wait, in free practice 2, sorry, I'm thinking free practice 3. In free practice 2, nothing crazy. There were a few contacts, few issues. I mean, in free practice 2, Lance Stroll spun and he like very lightly tapped his wheel on the wall, but it made his entire wheel come off. Bit dramatic, I fear, but you know, I don't know. In free practice 3, this is according to Google because I don't remember. In free practice 3, Lando topped the timesheets and okay, this The session was briefly interrupted by a red flag due to Oscar Piastri hitting the wall of champions, ironically. And under this, it was a red flag, and Yuki Tsunoda and Gabriel Bortoleto were under investigation for red flag infringements because you're not allowed to overtake under a red flag, even in free practices. And yeah, I mean, Nico Hulkenberg and Ollie Berman made contact with the wall of champions, and yeah. And then in quali, in Q1, Alex Albon's car just decided half of me is done. You only get half. And what I mean by that is half of his engine cover off. Just off. Just flew off. And, you know, this is making me very angry. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Okay. From what I remember, in Q1, not much besides Alex Albon's engine cover deciding it was done. And then in Q2, I remember having zero notes. And then in Q3, the only thing that really was shocking was the McLarens didn't look great. I mean, they looked fine, but in comparison to how they've been doing this season, not great. And it ultimately ended with them. Oscar ended P3 and Lando ended P7. But the main shock was how well the Mercedes did. So George Russell pulls off this beautiful lap at the very end of the thing, and it's kind of like, it wasn't like last year. If you remember, last year during qualifying for the Canadian Grand Prix, Max Verstappen, or one or the other, Max or George, set a time, and then the other set the exact same time, and then whoever set it later gets pole. Either way, this was specifically important because the Mercedes hasn't been looking great in warmer weathers. It's been looking well in like the colder weather, such as like when we were in Japan or China. But due to this, yeah, I mean, it was great for George. Within the Grand Prix though, so the Grand Prix starts. Yuki Tsunoda did end up getting a grid penalty for overtaking under the red flag, which is the 10-place grid penalty, which means he dropped 10 places. He initially qualified P8, but then was dropped to P18. And then Gabriel Bortoleto ended up getting a 3-place grid penalty, I believe. And he started in the pit lane, same with Pierre Gasly, because he changed his power unit, I want to say. I don't know. And then the race starts. George is able to keep his lead, surprisingly. And then, there is quick progress. Kimi Antonelli is able to get around Oscar Piastri and into third. And they jolly on about for a little while. Lando is slowly making progress, and same with Oscar. And they get to the point where there are a lot of pitting, and it was just kind of complicated. Albon, throughout the entire race, Alex Albon was having a lot of issues. It initially started with him being... he went over the grass, and then he went over grass, and then he went to... he was just driving along, but very, very, very slowly. Like, he was in, like, P12, I want to say, but was driving at, like, a P92? No. He was just driving slower than P20. And so, obviously, he was getting passed and passed and passed, because he was on very worn mediums. And mediums aren't bad at this circuit. They actually are good for qualifying. But I think the race tire was preferably the hard. And so, eventually, he finally pits. The pit stop's fine. And he ends up having an okay race. But the amount of exasperation in that poor man's voice when he was talking on the team radio was actually sad. I mean, he sounded like he was going to cry. And speaking of team radio beefs, as we know, Ferrari and their plans oftentimes disagree with their drivers. We've seen it several times before. If we remember the iconic stop inventing moment, which with Carlos Sainz. But Charles Leclerc is driving along. He's in P2 at this time because after pitting, Lando was P1, Charles was P2, I want to say Max was P3, and then at this time, like, it was like Max, or no, it was George, Max, and then Antonelli, Piastri. Okay. So Charles is in P2 and he's doing fine. He's keeping up with pace. But as this keeps going, he's losing grip, he's losing power, it's just not going great. And he wants to go for what the commentators believe a one stop. But Ferrari kept going, plan A, plan B, plan C. And then they're like, we're thinking plan B. And Charles goes plan C. And then they say, okay. And then they just do plan B anyways. We love it when teams ignore their drivers, it's just great. Okay, the race goes on. We get to the last 10 laps and it's chaos. But specifically the chaos is between the two Ferrari drivers and Kimi Antonelli, which is P3 through P5. And so the order was Kimi in P3, Oscar in P4, and Lando in P5. So Lando is fiending. I mean, he was attacking. And it wasn't to the point where he was going to crash out Oscar yet. But Oscar is trying to defend against Lando and catch Kim. Even more technical difficulties because the world hates me, I suppose. I'm not fucking sure anymore. I'm very pissed off now. Either way, we get to when Oscar and Lando are fighting like crazy. And I'm sorry. They keep fighting. And it gets to the point where Lando can overtake Oscar. So he attempts to overtake Oscar, but he initially is successful and is able to get in front of Oscar, but then he gets him and Oscar going wheel to wheel. They go into turn 10, I believe. And this is the turn where maybe 10 laps ago, Alex Albon retired, and he's fine. I mean, he just kind of pulled off into the runoff. I just forgot to mention that. Either way, they get there. Lando's going wheel to wheel with Oscar, and he's just fiending to get in front of him. And that just didn't happen. And so he goes into the wall, and he completely loses his front wing, and his tire comes off. It's bad. And so a yellow flag is called, which is then a full safety car, and the race ended behind a safety car, which means that was the end of the race. And George Russell ended up winning his first Grand Prix of the entire season, and Kimi Antonelli became the third youngest podium finisher in Formula One history. It goes Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll, Kimi Antonelli now. I think Sebastian Vettel after him. So that's exciting for him. But yeah. Really disappointing for Lando because this does make his championship fight much more difficult. Because now him and Oscar are not just 10 apart. They're math. 22 points apart now. They were 10 at the beginning of the race. So the only way for Lando to get within obviously he has all season, but within the next race, the only way for him to get above Oscar is for him to win and Oscar to DNF or just not score points, which probably won't happen. I don't know. It's sad, but shit happens. But due to this Max Verstappen is now kind of back in the running for championship. So now he's at 155 points, and that makes him only like a 44 point barrier, which is much less than it was before, because it was I think it was 60 something. I don't know. I think that I could fully see this being a, Oscar wins all season, you know? And I think that'd be really cool to see. Obviously, Lando is my favorite driver, but I do think Oscar is an amazing, crazily talented driver. So, yeah, I think it'd be. I really don't know. I think I hold out hope for it to be Lando, but realistically, I don't know if that's going to happen. So, yeah, I mean, notification on my phone. It's odd because when it comes to teams having to pick who they're gonna prioritize, it's not black or white. It's like, it's a whole team decision, which is difficult. And in my observation of how the McLaren team works, which is poorly, but I think that the team principal, Andrea Stella, prefers Oscar, but the CEO of McLaren prefers Lando. And I think it just depends on the race. And it's hard. I mean, you have to imagine trying to pit your two drivers against each other. That's not an easy feat, you know? But yeah, ultimately, I think that it's going to be a weird season. I think if it does play out the way that many championship battles have in the past, where it's the same teams fighting against each other, then this is going to be bad. I'm praying that Losker doesn't turn into a Mercedes situation, but you never know. Another thing I really wanted to talk about, which I probably should have talked about at the beginning of the video, but another thing I wanted to talk about is the 2026 Formula One season is out. And the schedule is posted. And hold on, let me pull it up on my phone because it's a part of my notes that are on the computer who gave up. Okay. The 2026 season composes of some new races, such as Madrid. I actually believe that's the only new race. But we start the season off on March 6th through 8th in Australia. Then we go to China, Japan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Miami, Canada, Monaco, Spain, Austria, Silverstone, Spa, Hungary. Then it's summer. And then we go to Zandvoort, Monza, Madrid. See, there's not going to be two races in Spain. There's going to be one in Barcelona and one in Madrid. I don't know why they don't just... I would love to see the French Grand Prix come back because I think that's a beautiful circuit. And also, there are a lot of French F1 fans, I fear. Either way. Where were we? Azerbaijan, Baku, Singapore, then we go to Austin, Mexico, Sao Paulo, Las Vegas, Qatar, and Abu Dhabi. But this is I think this is what's the word for it? Subjective one. It's not fully locked in. The thing is, you'll notice there's one race missing. Well, there's more than one, but there's one race that I personally feel like is missing, which is Imola. The reason why I feel like we should have kept Imola over, we can get rid of Las Vegas. No one likes Las Vegas. The drivers don't like it. None of the teams like it. I think it's just F1 is really trying to cater to America because we're just so fun. No, because I don't know. We're Americans. I don't know. I think it's also with the growing viewership of Drive to Survive, which is particularly in America, I believe. America's also just giant. So it's there's a lot of places. I don't know. Ultimately, we come here. The reason why I think that we shouldn't get rid of Imola is there's so much history. It's Ferrari's home race, and it's where Ayrton Senna died. It's a place. It's an entire. If you've seen if you're on TikTok, I'm sure you've seen the people who are from Imola talking about this is taking away a part of their culture. It's a part of their, in a way, it's kind of a part of their lives. It's just, it makes me sad because it's like for these people, this is and like I have to imagine like it's really hard for them to lose this thing that's probably been in their lives their entire life. Like, I mean, I don't know. I think it's hard to say because I guess everyone's different, but I don't know. I don't get why they don't bring back like the one in I forget where in South Africa it is, but it's this gorgeous track. Or bring back Pierre Richard or now I'm blanking. Either way, there were just a lot of tracks that I feel like are unnecessary. Like I don't like Vegas is the best example. Like I think Vegas was good in theory, but kind of in execution, it's kind of just like you look like an upside down pig. I fear. I fear. Another track that will be leaving after 2026, so in the 2027 season, is Zandvoort or the Dutch Grand Prix, and that one's a bit different. That is because the Dutch government is done. They are ending the contract. They said, we're good here. Which, I mean, I get it. I get it. Um, but yeah, that's going to be a sad track to go because Zandvoort is always interesting. I also love to see the sea of orange. Not for McLaren, but for Max. It's always lovely to see. But yeah, I think it's going to be an odd season next year, especially because there are supposed talks of Charles Leclerc leaving Ferrari. In reality, do I think that's going to happen? Probably not, but there's George Russell doesn't have a contract for next season. And also the introduction of a new team of Cadillac. It's going to be a lot. And I don't know. It's just I'm not sure why they would get rid of Imola is my main question. And frankly, I don't know what's going on with the like politics of it all, but I will miss Imola. Yeah. Oh my god. I kind of do and I don't want to talk about this, but I feel like it's important to talk about. Supposedly, I don't know. This could be wrong. I've seen many TikToks on it. I've seen some posts about it. So, supposedly, Trump is driving a F1 car at Coda next week, which we're not in Coda next week. So, I'm not sure why that's happening and why they're letting Trump drive a car. We shouldn't even let him run this country, and yet we are letting him drive a car. I don't feel like that's even worth it. I don't trust bro to breathe. Either way, we'll see. And also, uh, this weekend is also the weekend of Le Mans, which is the okay. So it's Le Mans 24 heures. Well, it's okay. Obviously, it's French, so you hear the accent, but it is a 24-hour race, and many F1 drivers, former F1 drivers compete in it. And I believe Nico Hulkenberg is a winner of Le Mans. But Ferrari ended up winning this year, and I think that's great because they're not going to win an F1. But yeah, Le Mans is happening, and I didn't talk about this. This is very important. Okay, at the end of quali, maybe I'll just cut this and put this there. At the end of quali, they're doing post-quali interviews, okay? George goes up, he's like talking on the mic, and as we talked about last week, Mr. Max Verstappen is in fact 1 point away from a race ban. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out the wherever the fuck we were. We're in Canada, Spain, Barcelona. Go check out the Barcelona video. I talk about it more in there. But George makes this like snippy comment being like, well, I have more points to play with on my license. Ooh. I just know Max was fiending to punch him. Fiending. I'm surprised we didn't see Max just like rip the microphone out of his hand. Thankfully, we didn't. I kind of would have wanted to see that. But yeah. Hmm. Either way, that is everything you need to know. Now let's actually end this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the German. If you please, and turn on all notifications so you never miss an upload. There should be a vlog coming out soon. And there's another vlog that I released 2 days before this came out, so you should go check out that too. Either way, I love you all. Make your decisions and roll the outro.